Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thank you for your practice. That's an all-day thing, right? We understand that. Yes, we spend some time focusing on invoking our Buddha mind through our Gohanzen portal, right? Using our mandala to focus our samsaric senses, our eyeballs and our ears and so forth. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. So thank you for continuing and staying steadfast. Just had a wonderful email exchange this morning with one of my wonderful friends in the UK. Thank you for that. Still trying to work out how I'm going to talk about this. Something we're wrestling with. There is wrestling. Yes, there is. So, started going page by page in this collection, this book collection, a collection of goshos that I put together, where Nichiren speaks specifically about the Daimoku. And now we're going to get into a meaty one, a long one, in other words. But Nichiren, this is more like a treatise. In fact, he at the top says, Nichiren, follower of the great teacher Kompon Dengyo. Which would indicate, let's see, when did he write this? You know, Dengyo is widely credited with reforming and much like Nichiren, this was written before he went to Sado, 1266. So this was I'll finish my thought. Dengyo revived Tendai Buddhism and established it in Japan with far more scholarship than had previously been achieved by other scholars who were already, we talk about it all the time, the political motives of people in power, people in high places, people who want certain associations, wealth, power, so on and so forth. Buddhism did not escape, nor does anything. We live in a supremely corrupt capitalist world, whether the moniker of, China right now would say it's the Chinese People's Republic, right? CPR, that's interesting. Or CCP, as you know. But it could scarcely be said that they're not one of the most capitalist organizations on the planet. So whatever shroud of rhetoric these leaders put on their systems, they're all just chasing after the economic control of the world. Because with the economic control, you control the people to make more economic. It's a disgusting circle. You already know it. I don't need to get into it. So let's focus on something that has the potential to influence and change that very base situation. We live in the time of greed, anger, and stupidity, right? Anger, again, I always have to clarify, is in Buddhism that manipulative, backstabbing, political, it's in everything now, right? Even before your child goes to kindergarten, they learn politics from television, from toys. It's just It's in everything. So the title of this Go Show, as we're given it in this translation, quite simply, the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra. Now, many, many years ago, decades ago, when I first read that title, I read it as the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra being, this is the title of the Lotus Sutra. This is a word or a set of words or sounds that label the Lotus Sutra. But again, this is a trick of language, right? That now I read it and I think the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra is the very essence, the container of the Lotus Sutra. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but there's a subtlety in that, but there's also a very profound understanding of the Daimoku that I think after decades of study, finally getting through my thick skull. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Question. Goes right into question. Usually has a little preface that leads into question, but no, right? Question. Is it possible, without understanding the meaning of the entire Lotus Sutra, but merely by chanting the 5 or 7 characters of Namu Myoho Renge Kyo once a day, once a month, or simply once a year, once a decade, or once in a lifetime, to avoid being drawn into trivial or serious acts of evil, to escape falling into the 4 evil paths, and instead to eventually reach the stage of non-regression? Let me explain this translation. Evil, as I've discussed before, that's a Western English convention. I doubt that Nietzsche actually used words that equivocate to evil, but even if he did, the meaning of that word, we have to understand, is any obstacle to our clear understanding of the nature of the preciousness of life in each moment. Right? Anything that clouds our understanding of that, evil. So understand that. It's not some demonic thing, influence. It's our own mind. Always, Buddhism is about the mind, our own mind, the way we construct reality, or more accurately, our experience of reality. And this is important because we're physical beings and we tend to see everything as physicalness, right? That's why we own and collect and obsess about, crave. Craving is a very outward-reaching illusion that says we have to own stuff in order to be something. But experience isn't something you can reach out for. Experience ultimately is your own. It's your sentience that we're talking about. And so Buddhism, very much at its core, is about sending your mind back into itself to perceive the true nature of all phenomena, which doesn't require any reaching out, grabbing, collecting, or because it's all happening at once. It's not an issue of ownership. It's an issue of being with at the same time. It's a complete flip of that thinking, right? This is why, you see, this I've had this annoying kind of bubbling up anxiety about what I'm on the internet, I'm surfing just like you, and I see all of these sites that purport to be Nietzschean doctrine, a lot of them call him the Daishonin, which is such an insult. But these huge mechanisms, political organizations with all their money, can blather this crap all over the internet and mislead so many people. And it's like, I'm just little old me. I don't have that kind of power. I'm just saying the emperor's naked. Please look. This incessant craving. This is the first thing Shakyamuni pointed out about what creates our suffering is our own delusion of owning stuff. I mean, that's the first thing he pointed out. All life is suffering. Why is all life suffering? All life is stress and anxiety and all. Why? Why? What causes that? Right? Obvious question. Second noble truth. Craving. Your incessant desire to. And why do we crave all this stuff? If you're not aware of it, what you're actually doing is trying to identify yourself. It's your ego. See who I am? I'm the Rolls Royce. I'm the great job. I'm the gal with the super hunk man. I'm the guy with the super beautiful woman. Who cares if I'm a scrawny idiot with taped up glasses? Look at what I'm going to bed with at night. That's me. That's the human sickness. That's not where life is. That's something completely other, constructed, fake. Right? The world fell in love with the word fake in the last decade. Well, you're living fake. You know this. It's in the Four Noble Truths. You want to be happy, truly happy, and experience life fully. Cease the craving. Wow, simple formula. Thank you, Shakyamuni. Spent the rest of his life trying to make that point clear. And still, today, we have people saying, chant for stuff. You want a new car? Chant for it. You want a better job? Chant for it. Earthly desires are enlightenment? No, you've misread that entirely. But how easy is it to lead people by the nose with that kind of magical thinking? That's what I struggle with every day, my friends. How can you get through to that kind of, in our day and age, civilizations of people have been lulled into the idea that they cannot do for themselves. There's a lot of forces out there that make that point every day. And conversely, they know that makes you a very prime target. Here, I'll give you everything you want. All you have to do is wish for it. It'll come. Carrot, carrot, carrot. Why do we fall for that? Especially when it's the first thing Shakyamuni pointed out. That's what's creating your misery. Why are you willfully participating in your misery? And they call that Buddhism. It breaks my brain, my friends. It breaks my brain. Buddhism is so far beyond that. It just leapfrogs over that whole mess. Don't chant for what you want in samsara. That's what you're trying to escape. Right? If you chant for the entirety of the potential of your life, how can you not have everything and more? It's not about having. It's about being in with. You know what? That requires a different kind of strength. a different kind of commitment. That's what the Daimoku is. That's what Namu Myoho Renge Kyo is. Namu, those two characters, like Nichiren saying it aloud for the first time, looking out over the Pacific Ocean, was saying, I, the me that is here samsarically, with my sentient mind, am turning away from the vice of ownership of stuff and completely dedicating my mind, my construction of being, to the clarity and preciousness of Buddhaness. Myoho Renge Kyo. That's the Daimoku. His answer to that question, if you forgot the question, can you just chant one in a lifetime? If you really, with the dedication, the knowing that I just explored with you, not going, oh, look, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, interesting magic words. No. With the mind, a sentient mind, dedicated, invocating, as Nichiren says, single-mindedly. Namu, me, my single-minded vantage point, my Gohonzon will now open to the full experience of the essence of life, the very engine of life, Buddhaness. Just doing that once. Yes, it is, he says. When they talk about falling into the four evil paths. Remember what I said about evil? These are the lower worlds. Hell, hunger, animality, anger. These are the lower worlds. We don't want to be there. When we define them, we go, yuck, we don't want to be there. But we travel through them all the time. 3,000 in every single thought moment. Right? We just don't want to be hooked in there. And yet people willfully, blissfully submit themselves to their lower worlds in this weird, vain hope that by doing so, something will bestow upon them. Really? Really? Question. You may talk about fire, but unless you put your hand in a flame, you'll never burn yourself. Almost sounds like he's talking to an idiot. Yeah. You may say water, water, but unless you actually drink it, you will never satisfy your thirst. Oh. As simple and as plain as day as these examples are, do you see what he's driving at? You can't play at Buddhism. You can't just be a part of Buddhism. You have to be Buddhism. If you learn anything from Nichiren, that is the point. Then how, just by chanting the Daimoku of Namo Myoho Renge Kyo without understanding what it means, can you escape from the lower paths of existence? How can you escape from samsara if you don't even know what it means? And I think what Nichiren is saying is you can yell water all day long, but once you take a sip of water, it just happens, yeah? You don't have to understand what water is. Answer. They say that if you play a koto strung with a lion's sinews, then all the other kinds of strings will snap. And if you so much as hear the words pickled plum, your mouth will begin to water. Even in everyday life, there are such wonders. So how much greater are the wonders of the Lotus Sutra? This is about planting the seed, opening, knocking on the door of that Gohonzon. Once a little crack of light comes through that door, right? We want to fling that door wide open. But it has to start with a creak, right? And of course, Nichiren is all about encouraging, inspiring, giving us motivation to do what is natural, what is built in for us to do. All we need is a little confidence, a little push. We are told that parrots, the birds, parrots, simply by twittering the Four Noble Truths of the Hinayana teachings, were able to be reborn in an enlightened state, and that men, simply by respecting the three treasures, were able to escape being swallowed by a huge fish. This is all folklore stories, expedient means, yeah? How much more effective, then, is the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra, which is the very heart of all the 80,000 wonderful teachings of Buddhism, and the eye of all the Buddhas, the experience? How can you doubt that by chanting it, you can escape from the four evil paths? And ipso facto, if you find yourself in the lower worlds, experiencing the lower worlds, what do? Right? Chant. The Lotus Sutra, wherein the Buddha honestly discarded expedient means, says that one can, quote, gain entrance through resolve alone. Entrance? There's that door again, Gohonzon. You can penetrate, you can invoke your Buddha mind solely by your committed, single-minded effort to do so. And the Nirvana Sutra, which the Buddha preached in the grove of sal trees on the last day of his life, states, quote, although there are innumerable practices that lead to enlightenment, if one teaches a strong mind of determination, then that includes all those practices. In other words, you can study all of Buddhist and non-Buddhist treatises on enlightenment, and you'll gain insights. You'll learn things. But if you want to experience enlightenment, just do it. Turn it on. Flip the switch. Open the door. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. That's how you do it. Simply. The more you study, the more you gain insights from your research, the more confidence you build, the more resolve you can have, the more you can maintain your Buddhaness. Thus, resolve is the basic requirement for entering the way of the Buddha. In the 52 stages of Bodhisattva practice, the first 10 stages dealing with a strong mind of determination are basic. And the first of these 10 stages is that of arousing conviction, a pure mind of conviction. Though lacking in knowledge of Buddhism, a person of strong conviction, even if dull-witted, you don't have to be particularly, brilliant or educated or IQ in the whatever, is to be reckoned as a person of correct views. Remember, we've talked about this. If we see and greet everyone as having the same potential for Buddhaness as we or anyone else might, wouldn't we start to view our surroundings and the people in our world differently? Sometimes it might be hard to, that idiot? Yeah, that idiot. That jerk, yeah, that jerk too. You don't know the nature of their obstacles. What you do know is that we're all sentient beings, capable at any moment of enlightenment. What a something to consider, yeah? But even though one has some knowledge of Buddhism, if one is without conviction, then one is to be considered a slanderer and an inchantinka, or a person of incorrigible disbelief. Right? If you just set aside this practice of, yeah, I know what those Nichiren people do, or I know what, yeah, oh yeah, Buddhism, yeah, that's one of those other religions, which is again where some of these politically motivated organizations with all their money play in the land of religions, not Buddhism. They call themselves Buddhists, but they're not. The monks Sunakshatra observed the 250 precepts, mastered the 4 stages of meditation, and was versed in all the 12 divisions of the scriptures. I have a video on the 12 divisions. You can look that up. While Devadatta memorized the 60,000 non-Buddhist teachings and the 80,000 Buddhist teachings and could manifest 18 miraculous powers with his body. And yet it is said that these men, because they had knowledge but no conviction, are now in the great citadel of the Avici hell. Mahakashyapa and Shariputra, on the other hand, lacked knowledge, but they had strong minds of determination. And the Buddha, accordingly, predicted that they would become the thus come ones light bright and flower glow, respectively. The Buddha stated, quote, if one should harbor doubt and fail to commit, one will fall at once into the evil paths. That's just the human mind, isn't it? These words refer to those who have knowledge but are without a strong mind of determination. And yet contemporary scholars ask, quote, how is it possible simply by chanting Namu Myoho Renge Kyo with conviction and resolve, but no understanding, how is it possible to avoid the lower worlds, the lower life experiences, yeah? If we accept the words of the sutra, these scholars themselves can hardly avoid falling into that very same great citadel of the Avici hell. What is the great citadel of the Avici hell? You guys remember? It's samsara, the first noble truth. This is so simple. Thus, as we have seen, even those who lack understanding, so long as they chant Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, parentheses, with conviction, can avoid the lower worlds, paths, realms. This is like lotus flowers, which turn as the sun does. Though the lotus has no mind to direct it, or like the plantain that grows with the rumbling of thunder, though this plant has no ears to hear it, now we are like the lotus or the plantain, and the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra is like the sun or the thunder. Wow. Yeah? Don't you think? It's quite a statement. Those of us who grew up in love with our brains and our minds, that's a little bit rattling, isn't it? To think that you could invoke a state of mind that, though you don't understand it, would be, as Nichiren said in his example, like fire. If you put your hand in it, you're going to burn. It's kind of a negative example, but I get it. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo is that. It's not magic words. It's not a specific, it's not a statement. It sort of is in that it's a declaration. A declaration that says, I'm enlightened. I can experience my enlightenment. Let me do so right now, immediately. And once that door is ajar, as the joke goes, when is a door not a door? When it's ajar. Your enlightenment can't be far behind. Are you okay, baby? Are you worried about something? My poor little girl. You're too scared. All right, I'm going to leave you with that. Trying to make some of these videos shorter for you. There's a lot to digest in that, but it's really a simple thing. Don't just make a habit of chanting. Make it an event. Right? Better you spend a half hour of eventful Daimoku than millions of repetitive, hey, I did 100,000. So what? Do you know what you're doing? Are you committed to doing it? And Nichiren is saying, even so, you're just kicking that door open more and more and more. Eventually, you're going to have to grapple. It's going to knock you on your ass, and you're going to realize how important this is. So, as I always say, be kind to yourself. Maybe you don't get it now. The most important thing, and this is Nichiren and Shakyamuni, stick with it. Stay committed. Have conviction. Even if right now but Sylvain, I'm chanting, and after about 15 minutes, I don't get it. I don't want to know. You know what? Okay. Beat down that quitter. If this just for yourself. When you get 15 minutes into it and every little cell in your body is going, stop, this is bullshit. Those are the monkeys. And even if only for the next 5 minutes, you drown those out. You shut those monkeys up. Namo myoho renge kyo. Because damn it, I want enlightenment. I want to experience this life fully. I guarantee you will. I guarantee you. You know so. Make it an event every single time. Namo myoho renge kyo. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Please, if you could just take a moment to like and subscribe. It does wonders to elevate this channel in the searches on YouTube. We have to drown out those other voices that are just so destructive to Buddhism. We have to. It's our Bodhisattva mission. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Patrons, you make it all possible. If you can, Patreon, or direct to PayPal. Go to threefoldlotus.com. There's links there. Right? There's a scan. What do they call those? QR codes on the end of this video. You just take your phone. It'll take you right to PayPal. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to influence Buddhism correctly throughout the world, to grow our Sangha. That's what this is about. There's no other reason for this resource. So thank you for participating and your support. Take care of your health. Keep your determination up. It's everything. Happy life. Plow through those obstacles. They're just noise. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.